Run it up, then run it back. Run it up, then run it back. Run it up, run it back. Run it up, then run it back.
Woo! It's Thursday, y'all. We've made it almost to the end of the week. This is Run It Back. Michelle, Chandler, Lou. We've got Stefan Bond coming on a little bit later to talk all things New York. But the night was emotional, ladies and gentlemen. And I'll be honest with you, I kind of got emotional at one point, just sort of because it was a lot. It was a lot going on, and Luka's big return to Dallas. It was a 2+ minute video that got him to cry, introduced last, actually 3 minutes. So your reaction first, Chandler. What do you think about this?
I think it was awesome. I think it was a classy move by Dallas. I think it was uncut, genuine, just emotion from a dude that gave everything he had to the city, and this was just a huge sign of respect. And most people leave in free agency, or they ask for a trade, or it kind of runs its course in that franchise and you leave. This, just the whole shock factor of this trade can just show you how much he was affected by it, how much the city was affected by it. I mean, have we ever seen a dude exit the court with the GM chance of fire Nico happening in their home building? So I think this is great. I think it's great closure for him. Again, I think it was a great move by Dallas with everything they did with the walking in, with the T-shirts, and this was great to see. It just shows you how, you know, confused he was and how genuinely sad this dude was, and he cared. That's his home. That was his home for 6 years, 6.5 years, and he showed it, and he couldn't help it, and he came out and absolutely cooked as well.
He didn't give him everything he had because he put a 45 on his head, so he had a little bit left in the tank. But it was great to see from the MAVS organization. Like that was a class act. The way that they handled this situation, the way that he was celebrated and admired. The fans were confused because they were cheering for the Lakers. They didn't even realize that they cheered for the Lakers the entire game. But this was well-deserved, you know. Still being such a young guy, you saw how much it meant to him, coming over in emotion and like, you know, when you go back to your former team and you did well there, you want to be celebrated in this fashion. So to see that and to see the reception as a former player, that was great to see.
And for most of the game, it was actually competitive and fun.
It was actually a good game.
Yeah, it was a good watch. They also handed out T-shirts that said "Thank you for everything" in Slovenian, which again, I would love to be a fly on the wall in these meetings within the organization, because on the one hand, you did this. On the other hand, now you're trying to figure out how to handle it. It's very weird. It's
layers, right?
Yes.
So the front office did it.
Yep.
But then you still have, you know, the fans that you still have the part of the organization that they are responsible for making sure that you get celebrated appropriately. And obviously you can tell by the fans that, you know, everybody wasn't on the same page with this move, and they're being very specific with the person that they want to place blame on. And he's worn that hat. And so for that, everybody in Dallas, Texas, outside of Nico Harrison, didn't want this to happen. And you can tell that by the reception that he got last night.
Yeah, and I like it. And I think, listen, this like I said, this was his home from the moment he got to this country. It's not like he lived somewhere else.
He was a baby.
Like he played on another team. This is very similar to Dirk coming over from Germany, and then if they were just to trade Dirk 7 years in, like it was a complete shock to everybody. And I think you kind of saw that response last night. There was zero boos. There were tears. That was a special night. And I do think just getting this out of the way before the playoffs, before next season, having this closure of, okay, that's just a chapter that's now closed and moving forward. And it was a special night for him. And again, he felt the love last night. He drove his own car and
he slept in his own house.
And again, mind you, this was 2 months ago.
Yeah, it's fresh.
I said it on yesterday's show. Like, this is ripping the Band-Aid off a fresh wound. Like, right when you think that this thing is healed up a little bit, I got to go back here and I got to face these fans. Like, the minute that the lights went off, I saw him tell his equipment manager, "Give me a towel."
Oh, buddy.
Give me a towel. Like, but that's what you want to see from a guy that, like Chandler mentioned, gives everything to a city, to a community, all parties involved in Texas. It was just great to see that type of reception for a former player coming back.
And as a GM, Nico does have a job to do, and he clearly thought this was the best move for him. Now, if he could go back, did he think it would be this much backlash, this much negative?
He had to know.
I don't know if he thought it'd be like this, man. This was next level.
He had to know. That's why they did it so secretly.
That's why it's so shocking.
This was crazy, and again, I'm happy that Dallas embraced him and showed him, like, look, this was a business move, but you're still family. You're still welcome back here. We hope you come back here and play one day. But this was awesome to see. You don't usually see this from athletes. Kind of look at him. Like,
well, because we also have never been through this. Like,
Right.
this is such a shocking.
The first one is always the toughest one.
Yeah.
You know, and not trying to jinx him, it probably won't be the last time. The longer that you play in the league, you'll start to kind of rack up a few teams under your belt. But he's still a very young guy, and again, it was a surprise to everybody, and especially Luka. Like, he didn't expect this. He was playing this flag in Dallas for years and years to come. And so for him to show this type of emotion, it kind of gave everybody the chills. Like, it made everybody feel something for him. But as soon as that ball was tipped off, it was business as usual, and he did his thing.
He was very much in control of that. By the way, Gatorade released a video that's kind of amazing, actually. No love lost, only sweat. But it's the towel around his neck that basically says traitor. How well done is that?
That's no mistake.
Of course it's no mistake. You know how many people are on that set making sure everything's perfect?
And you know what? I respect his endorsements and his brands that are coming to his, get his back. With Jordan doing the howdy y'all and their whole campaign for him, and now Gatorade kind of getting his back. This is exactly what you look for in a partner and an endorsement like this. So this was also awesome.
Meanwhile, he's a Laker now, and they're like,
did you guys know that he was with Gatorade before?
No. I don't know who anybody's with at this point.
Yeah.
I just assume they're all, the stars are with.
There was also something how, like, his endorsements, the Dallas asked to do, like, some things, and Luka's endorsements basically shut it down. We're like, no. Like, he's on the Lakers now. The
audacity, by the way. The audacity to ask for anything at this point. Now, all of this happened, but there was an actual game that was played last night. The Lakers come away victorious. Luka, we should have done the prop thing. He had 45 in his first game back, tied season high with that. Also with 8 rebounds, 6 assists, 4 steals. 31 points came in the first half. His 10th career 30-point half. It's a playoff clinched game for the Lakers. But right afterwards, you saw the tears. Here's Luka right after this game ended.
I don't know how I did it, because when I was watching that video, I was like, there's no way I'm playing this game.
I mean, I think a lot of people were like, uh-oh, is he going to be okay? Lou did seem to
put on an absolute show. And honestly, this is the dream scenario. Like, going back to your former team and putting belt to ass. Like, that's the dream, because look, when you go back, you're so emotional, you're a little nervous, you're a little antsy. You have so many different things going through your head when you're going back to play a former team that you love so much that it might trick you into playing a bad game. This wasn't the case for Luka. He put on an absolute show. The first time I realized he had 25, it was like the second quarter, and I texted the group chat. Like, he's trending for 50. Yesterday I said he was going to go for the 50 ball, so selfishly I wanted to look like a genius. I wanted to look like the guy that said, I told you he was going to go get 50. He was 5 off, but in a playoff clinching game, in a game that meant something to this Los Angeles Lakers team, a game that meant so much to him individually, he went out there and put on an absolute performance.
Yeah, the fact that he can go through all that and compartmentalize everything he just went through emotionally wise, and then still go out there and do what he did, and he did exactly what we thought we did.
I'd have been drained.
Yeah, we wanted to get that action, and we wanted to get that bet in. He did exactly what we thought he did. He dominated early and often, and he showed Nico and that ownership exactly what they traded away and how big of a mistake that was. And I've said this right when it happened. That man's winning MVP next year. You can book it. Yes, like, he is going to have an absolute revenge season tour. He already has. If I get a vote,
what is this? The prequel?
Yes.
You know what? Because
that man is going to go bananas next season.
I feel like there are stages to breakups, right? Like, we're sort of watching him have to live it out in real time. But it was like there was the shock involved at first. Ooh, didn't see it coming. Then there's the sadness we just saw, and now I think the rage sets in, and you're like, oh, I'm going to scorched earth this entire situation. There's more from Luka. Of course, there's more from Luka after this game. Here he is.
I love these fans. I love the city. But it's time to move on.
Now we're looking ahead, right? Because what is the actual ceiling here, Chandler, for this Lakers team?
Well, first of all, this is a huge win. Now they win one more game, and they clinch the 3rd spot in the Western Conference, which already is such a great improvement, such a great season. And obviously adding a Luka, it's going to take some time, but they are peaking. They are healthy. They are getting on the right page in the perfect time. And you look, obviously the West can change. It does change daily and nightly, but I think expectations are to win a championship. And those are real expectations. Everything, all the craziness that's going on in Denver, Houston, that are, is such a young team. It's the 2 seed. It could easily come down to the Lakers and the Thunder, and I think those are the best two teams in the Western Conference. And obviously, you give the experience nod to the Lakers. The Thunder are a better, more rounded team, but there's no reason to think this team is not a championship contender right now, especially at plus 1,700. I love that.
As much in this scenario that we criticize Nico, you gotta tilt your hat off to Rob Pelinka, man. Since the All-Star break and since this trade, this team has been absolutely rolling. Like, you don't have a lot of guys on this team that are necessarily household names and that people with respect outside of Los Angeles, but everybody's been playing their role and playing really good basketball. And you got to give these guys credit. Like, since that break, they've been probably the second best team in the entire NBA. You know what I mean? With the way that they've been playing, with the way Luka and LeBron has been going. Even when LeBron went out of the lineup, they were still able to survive and get them back and play good basketball. And so I'm with Chandler on that. Like, they've emerged as one of the favorites outside of OKC to contend to get out of the Western Conference.
And when you get a guy like Luka, too, you would think he's a ball-dominant guy. A guy like Austin Reeves doesn't benefit from it. His numbers are crazy. His numbers are through the roof. Everybody's touching the ball, and somehow they add a guy who's not known as a great defender, and they're a much better defensive team. So everybody's playing hard. They're playing together. They're playing the right way. J.J. Redick has these guys all on the same page. And like I said, they are peaking right now at the best possible moment going into the postseason.
They got a lot of guys on this team that know their roles.
It's also a lot of effort. Like, last night there was a lot. Yeah. I loved that the entire team was like, all right, we're going to get you the ball as much as possible. We want you to go off here. The effort involved, like, LeBron James should not be the guy who's the most energetic out there, and he was. And the thing that really bugged me the most, guys, and I'm wondering if you noticed the same, is we all knew that Luka was going to come out and crush. Not one person said, I bet AD has a big night too. And he didn't. He 13 points, looked like he could rather be anywhere else. Like, that did not help Nico last night. And it certainly doesn't help anybody who wants to try to look at this through positivity for the Dallas Mavericks. But there's no way they're ever going to have won this trade.
Well, we talked about supporting Cass. Like, to be fair, if Kyrie Irving was involved in this game, who knows how it would have went if he would have had some different pieces with him. Like, this is a team that we were talking about. They should have been packed in anyways. You know what I mean? And so, and plus, this wasn't his game. This was Luka's game.
But it should be.
Even that trade wasn't his trade. This was a Luka trade. So, all things considered, AD played about how you would expect him to play in this type of environment, and Luka played how you expected him to play in this type of environment.
That's probably a problem, isn't it?
That's definitely a problem. I mean, that's definitely a problem. But again, all things considered, if you have Kyrie Irving and you have a completely healthy Dallas Mavericks team last night, you may get a different game.
Yeah, short-sighted. Obviously, the Lakers won this trade. They're going to be a contending team this year, and they are not extremely banged up. All hell broke loose when this trade happened. For AD gets hurt in the first game out. Kyrie goes down. They have been absolutely doomed with the injury bug. So I think next season we'll kind of get a better understanding of what this team will look like fully loaded. And by the way, they're going to get all their bigs back who missed a bunch of time. PJ Washington's going to be healthy. You know, Max Christie's going to be comfortable in this system. So they are going to be solid. But obviously right now, looking so short-sighted, yeah, the Lakers get a top 3, top 4 player in the NBA, and they could possibly go to the finals. That's a huge win.
World we're living in. Speaking of the West here, let's take a look at spots 3 through 8. Separated all of this by 2.5 games. Lakers 1 win away from getting the 3 seed. They got the Rockets and the Blazers left. That is sort of what you have going on in this particular situation. So, you know, if you were trying to pick the perfect team for the matchup for this Los Angeles squad, Lou, who are you going with?
I don't know if it really matters.
Okay.
You know, honestly, I don't know if it really matters, and I'd be tripping to pick a team with the way that these standings are, because I could pick a team today and
it's going to change tomorrow.
Yeah, and by tomorrow it'd be a completely different team. But always in-house, if you're having a solid season and you're having a solid run, it really doesn't matter who your opponent is, and that's what I like about the Lakers. That's why yesterday I said I feel like they're going to win out, because when you're playing well, it doesn't matter who you put in front of a team that's confident, that's playing well, and everybody's on the same page. That's what you're getting out of this Los Angeles Lakers team right now.
Yeah, I don't think they care. Obviously, from the outside looking in, I wouldn't want Jokic in the first round if somehow that happens, and I wouldn't want Minnesota, the way they can defend and the way they can match up against the Lakers. So that leaves you with the Clippers, the Grizzlies, and the Warriors, which none of that will be easy either. So I think they play it, let it run its course. Whatever happens, happens. Having home court is going to be huge no matter who they face. But Yeah. All these teams are really good. As you can see throughout the standings in the season, there's been consistency with all 5, 6 of these teams, and they're all capable of winning a series against the Lakers.
And you also got to trick yourself sometimes as well. Like, at the end of the day, I'm the 3 seed, so we're going to get the team that we deserve. So whoever's in the 6th, they deserve to be in the 6th. So whether it's Memphis, Clippers, or whoever, you should feel confidently enough to feel like you got a great chance of beating anybody at that spot.
I like where they are right now. I think if it stopped right now, I think they'd be cool. Lakers, Grizzlies, I think they would like that. I think they would like that matchup.
Yeah, like even if this changes though, even if it's the Nuggets or the Clippers or the Warriors or whatever,
it's all gonna change.
Yeah, like it's all gonna change. But again, if you're playing great basketball, you feel like, yeah, some of these challenges will be different than others, and some may be more challenging than some of the other teams, but I still like my chances based on the way that we're playing.
Well, here's the fun part of the season, too, because everybody has like 2, max 3 games left, and we've already sort of looked ahead and decided who's going to win what. Well, the Warriors had a game last night that they were probably counting as perhaps a dub. Too bad Harrison Barnes decided to go ahead and squash the party. There it is. Woo!
Talking about beating your former team.
Yeah, buzzer beater.
How good does that feel for him to do this?
How great is this moment, y'all?
Yeah, and by the way, again, we just looked at that. We're still looking at the standings over there.
Yep.
This is a bad loss for the Warriors. Again, they go from possibly up to home court advantage, and the tiebreakers are all nuts too. I think the Nuggets have the tiebreaker against the Clippers, but not the Grizzlies, Warriors, and Timberwolves. So it's too close to even do that game.
Can't do it.
But man, they could go from home court advantage to two losses in
It's like
Cabo.
a play-in. You could playing this.
I mean, if this starts today, that's the reality.
Literally, they could lose 2 games and be in Cabo in 2 weeks. Or they could be home court advantage. So this is the beauty of the Western Conference. This is the beauty of being a team like the Houston Rockets, who handled business early and aren't sitting here sweating this out like these 5 teams, these 6 teams, or the Thunder, who had a consistent season of wins and wins and wins and keep stacking them. But man, I've never seen a race this close, this competitive.
Perfect.
Ever.
By the way, shout out the Spurs. In the week, they've beaten Denver, and they beat the Warriors, teams that are actually really
good job, Spurs. You gotta get the 6th pick instead of the 4th.
It's okay that they win those now. Everything's all good. We're set now. I'm wondering, Lou, what do you think happens here? Is there a world in which the Warriors
and they all play each other
they
too?
All
yeah,
play.
they all play each other. It's gonna all of these games matter. Like. We were talking about people resting guys, this and that. Like, nobody can afford to rest anybody. All of these games matter right now. Like, looking at this schedule, I don't know who I'll pick. It's like Grizzlies and the Rockets for the Nuggets. They probably can win those 2 games. Clippers, Kings,
Rockets
Warriors.
will rest, right?
Rockets
They're done.
Rockets will rest. So I like Denver winning out right there. The Clippers possibly winning out. What the Warriors are going to fight like hell. You know the caliber of guys that they have. And the Grizzlies, the Grizzlies probably got the worst of it. They probably got the worst of it with the T-Wolves, Nuggets, and the Mavericks. And then you got the Warriors, the Blazers, and the Clippers. And so this is going to be an absolute shootout coming these last couple of games.
Insane.
Everything about this. Denver had its first game post Michael Malone last night. 124-116 win. Jokic, no big deal, 33rd triple-double. We just assume it at this point. It was a quiet night, though, guys. 20 points, 12 rebounds, 11 assists. And now they remain the 4 seed. The 4-game losing streak was the big road win. And I would say Jokic was a little animated in this one, drawing up plays in the huddle, all of that. After the game, obviously, he was asked about everything that's gone on. Here he is.
People say that we are vulnerable, but I think the beast is always the strongest or the most dangerous when they're vulnerable. So maybe he woke up the beast.
Ooh, that's scary.
What they didn't show there is he said this is probably the response that Josh wants or something. Josh is the governor of the owner, so he's literally.
I appreciate the translation.
No, they didn't show that, which that was crazy.
I appreciate it.
That I've never heard him.
Waking up the beast.
I've never heard him talk like that. Also,
animated.
first of all, I think that beast has been woken up for like 7 years now. Straight dominating, 3-time MVP, possibly a 4th. But look, this is exactly the response they need, and you can see they shifted the way they played a little bit. They entered the kid Pickett, who in the starting lineup hadn't been getting a lot of minutes, and that was a lot of the frustration with the front office not playing young guys, developing guys, playing Russ too many minutes. Now you see Russ's minutes get cut last night
the X
too,
factor, huh?
and they win. So No, I don't think Pickett's the X factor, but I think they're tweaking rotation and stuff with Jamal Murray.
I mean, why
out.
not?
Maybe
if he was vital enough to be part of a firing, he may be a part.
Is he the reason the GM and the coach got fired?
He may be the X factor.
I mean, there's gonna be a documentary about this, about Pickett. And how
listen,
this all
Jamal,
went down.
it's a perfect time
What
right
if
now
he
to
just
find
goes on a
that
run?
guy.
What if
all of a
he's
sudden?
like the greatest player we didn't know?
Insanity in Denver.
This could
Listen,
happen.
with Jamal Murray
happen.
out, they need to find that other guard, and as good as Brown can be and Strother and these guys, Watson, they haven't kind of showed that they can go and erupt for 25, 30 points. And
Career night, by the way.
Huh?
Pickett, career night.
You think?
And
Of
by the
course
way,
he
the
did.
dude defends. He's strong. He's an NBA player, and now he's getting his
Just
chance.
familiarizing myself with him right now. Just
Penn
make sure
State?
It's like the X factor right here.
Yeah,
Yeah,
Penn
Penn State.
State.
Well done.
Yeah, I think it's great, and I think as the interim coach, he has to try things like this. He's got to shift a little bit, and it's funny. You see Jokic last night almost as like a player coach drawing
Never
up
seen
plays and I've never seen him talk so much in his life. So it's definitely he feels onus on him to be more of a leader and to kind of get them through this weird time of firing their coach right before the playoffs.
Yeah, you can't lollygag after that, and especially with all that remaining. We are going to take a very, very, very quick break. On the other side, to talk New York Knicks, Stefan Bond joins the show.
Run it up, run it back.
All right, it's time to talk all things New York because the Knicks find themselves in a very, very interesting, there he is, situation. Stefan Bond joining the show now. You know where we're going first, sir. We are going to the fact that they cannot, for the love of everything, buy a win against both Cleveland and Boston. Why?
Well, I mean, listen, against Boston, the problem has been defending the three-point line. And they certainly showed themselves, acquitted themselves a lot better in that last matchup. It came down to the wire. They should have won the game in regulation. They should have fouled Jason Tatum instead of letting him hit that tying three-pointer in the fourth quarter. So at least, they're showing improvement, at least against the Celtics. They were blown out by the Cavaliers. They were blown out by OKC. I think there's a talent gap. More than anything, there's certainly a gap in the level of depth. The Knicks don't have a very good bench. Tom Thibodeau doesn't trust his bench. So I think that's all part of it. But, I think that the Knicks are they're looking at that last matchup against the Celtics. They're looking at the possibility of a second-round matchup and saying, look, we can hang with those guys. I think that's their big takeaway from the other night.
Oh, okay. So that is the glass half full approach, which I appreciate, of course. But do you think, what is the vibe like? Do they feel like we are genuinely missing something, or because it doesn't look like they're going to hang with them?
Yeah, I mean, listen, Jalen Brunson, I think, in my opinion, Jalen Brunson is the clutch player of the year. So if you keep the game close, they believe that they have the guy to put them over the top. The question is whether they can keep it close. They acquired OG Anunoby and Mikal Bridges to deal with Jason Tatum and Jaylen Brown. They have not been able to hold those guys down. It has not been a good matchup for the Knicks. So they need to figure out a way to, especially Tatum, figure out a way to hold him down. They did switch after the first matchup. They had Mikal Bridges on him. They switched OG Anunoby on him. That produced better results. So I think they believe they have something going there in terms of slowing down Jason Tatum. And we don't know where Jaylen Brown's knee is. He's been resting. If Jaylen Brown is compromised in any way, then the Knicks, that's an advantage the Knicks can lean into.
Yeah, excuse me. And we're talking about matchups, and the Knicks, they're the 3 seed right now, currently, and with everything's going. Their possible first-round matchup would be the Detroit Pistons. Is there any concern there with that matchup, or do you think this is a team that feels comfortable going into the first round?
Well, I'm actually in Little Caesars Arena right now, and the plot twist is that the Knicks are suddenly resting their guys for this matchup tonight. Josh Hart isn't playing. OG Anunoby's not playing. Mitchell Robinson's not playing. If the Knicks had defeated the Pistons tonight, they will have basically secured a first-round matchup against the Pistons. If the Pistons win out, then all of a sudden the Knicks are looking at a potential matchup against the Milwaukee Bucks. So, I guess the message, if you're the Pistons, you're looking at it like, oh, they don't want this smoke. They could beat us today and secure that first-round matchup against us, but they're resting their guys. So, they can say what they want, but
Detroit should rest everybody too.
No one plays
Let's just play some chess. Everybody just
What
rest.
if I told you 5 months ago that the Knicks will rest to play Giannis and Dame in the playoffs versus the Detroit Pistons? That's what you're saying?
We would have lost a lot of money.
Wow.
I mean, listen, I don't know. They are banged up. They played a ton of minutes, so it's not just playing to the matchup. I'm sure that they're resting their bodies to get ready for the playoffs, but they do have an opportunity tonight to essentially secure a first-round matchup against the Pistons, and they're resting some guys.
So the Knicks, let's say they get the Bucks. Obviously, I think I'd rather the Pistons if I'm the Knicks than the Bucks. I don't want Giannis and Dame. You know, what, do you think that's a more favorable matchup for them, Milwaukee?
I'm with you. I wouldn't want to touch Giannis Antetokounmpo in the first round. To me, he's the best player in the Eastern Conference. I know people say Jason Tatum, Donovan Mitchell. To me, it's Giannis Antetokounmpo still.
Okay.
He's not somebody I want to see in the playoffs. We don't know what's going to happen with Dame Lillard in that first round, whether he's going to play. We know about Dame time and his ability to come through in the clutch. Me, personally, I'd rather go up against the Detroit Pistons. Yeah. With that being said, the Knicks in the regular season owned the Milwaukee Bucks. Brook Lopez, they tried to put Brook Lopez on Karl Anthony Towns. That was a disaster. So, you know, if you're looking at regular season matchups, the Knicks own the Bucks.
Yeah, I love what JB's doing in Detroit, but I'll take that and experience that youth in the playoffs.
Because it's unknown.
I don't want Dame Lillard and Giannis, two of the best players in the world in the playoff series.
That's fair. That's fair. Is the season, you know, we're going to get to is the season a failure? If they don't get past Boston in the conference semis, how are we looking at the season?
Yeah, I mean, when the season started, the idea was they lost twice in a row in the second round. So they spent all this draft capital. They depleted their assets in order to improve the roster to get Mikal Bridges and Karl Anthony Towns. The expectation is they take this next step forward, and the next step forward is the conference finals. Unfortunately for them, Cleveland took this ginormous leap and became the top seed. So now the Knicks are staring at a potential second-round matchup against the Boston Celtics. And to me, and I think around the league, the Boston Celtics are the favorite to win the NBA title. Yeah. So, you know, I think that in order to show improvement, they'd have to have they obviously have to win the first round. And then they have to show that they can compete with the Boston Celtics in the second round, not get blown out, take 2 or 3 games maybe. I think that is showing that they're headed in the right direction.
Is there a world if they do get the Celtics second round and they get swept or lose 4-1 that THIBS is out of there?
Coaches are losing their jobs left and right.
And there's a couple there's some good options. There's some good options out there to snag them while they're available, coaching-wise.
Well, I mean, listen, THIBS totally. First of all, I'm not going to get in James Dolan's head. That would be impossible. I don't know what decision he's going to make, but THIBS, to me, like, he totally turned this franchise around. I mean, if we were looking back before he got here, we're talking about perennial loser, laughing stock of the NBA. He totally changed the culture. I get it. Some fans say, well, he's the guy that took us there, but he's not the guy to take us, you know, to the next level, over the top. To me, you know, I think that Tom Thibodeau is the right guy for the job. I've always felt that way. And the idea that somebody else is going to put them over the top, I just don't see who that person is. If you're telling me Mike Malone, a New Yorker, you know, I respect what he did in Denver, but to me, Tom Thibodeau's a better coach.
So obviously this is Thibodeau's thing too, but Jalen Brunson comes back Sunday after missing 15 games, plays 34 minutes against the Suns, then 38 minutes against the Celtics. There's clearly no load management on him after missing that much time. Is this a problem? Is this a good thing? Is he trying to get his legs back as quick as possible going into the postseason?
Yeah, and I think it is important because when you looked at that first game he came back, he looked really rusty. He looked like he was not confident in his shot and his ability to create offensively, especially in that first half. You saw things kind of change in the fourth quarter when he started to get to the free throw line, when he hit his first 3-point shot, that he started to find his rhythm. You know, he is not going to play back-to-backs, at least my understanding is. So they do play tonight, and then they play tomorrow at home against Cleveland. Oh. I don't think he'll play tomorrow against Cleveland. He has to get to that 65-game threshold in order to be qualified for All-NBA. I think he's going to make All-NBA. I think he's a top candidate for Clutch Player of the Year, so he wants to get to that 65-game threshold. And in order to do that, he has to play tonight and then the season finale against the Brooklyn Nets. So I don't expect him to play tomorrow, but we'll see.
Yeah, he's playing in those because those bonuses are big.
Yeah, that's
he doesn't have. By the way, he doesn't have bonuses.
Oh, he doesn't.
Straight pride.
No bonuses.
Yes.
Yeah, and he's not eligible for that Supermax. So making All NBA doesn't really matter.
It changes a little bit.
No, he's doing it for the beauty of the game. I love that.
Yeah.
All right, so last month, God, it's only a month ago, there was that report you had about Mikal Bridges going to THIBS, asking for fewer minutes for the starters, and then THIBS was asked about it and was like, no, that never happened. What exactly was the story there?
Yeah, I mean, so Mikal Bridges straight blankly said, I talked to Tibbs about this, and I followed up and said, what was Tibbs's reaction? And he said, well, you know, he wasn't angry about it, but, you know, sometimes he's stuck in his ways. And then later because that was in the morning shoot around, later that day before the game in Portland, Tibbs said that meeting never happened. So it was pretty bizarre. You know, I don't want to get in Mikal's head just in terms of, you know, what underlying meanings he had. I do know that he's close with two guys on the bench, Campaign and Landry Shamet, from their time together in Phoenix. So it's entirely possible that this wasn't a critique on Tibbs. It was just him lobbying for his bench guys to get more playing time. But since then, you know, everything seems to be fine. And it hasn't been brought up again, to be honest.
I know. Didn't he have like the game winner that next game after all that? It was like kind of a perfect situation.
That same night.
Yeah, exactly.
That same night.
I know Josh Hart has called out sort of the minutes police out there. Everybody who's been watching knows that this is what Tibbs does. But I have to ask, I don't know that people pile on Tibbs for the sake of it. Is there not actual concern that last year that the injury situation was a big problem and that they're afraid that that's going to happen again come these playoffs?
Well, I mean, they're not injured. They're actually as healthy as they have been all season. The other night, they were totally healthy. They had everybody, you know, available aside from the rookie Ariel Hukporti. So, you know, we can talk about a lot of the freak injuries that happened last season. Julius Randle tumbling over the guy in Miami and separating his shoulder. Jalen Brunson this season, you know, landed on a Lakers player and sprained his ankle. Those things happen. But right now, the Knicks are as healthy as they've been all season. They're clearly kind of resting guys right now to get ready for the playoffs. And, you know, I don't see a wear and tear situation right now. OG Anunoby, who everybody criticized for, you know, not playing enough and being injured his whole career, he's already eclipsed the most minutes of his entire career. Josh Hart has already eclipsed the most minutes of his entire career, and they're playing their best ball right now. So I can't really look at it and say that this has been a detriment to them and towards the end of the season.
Tibbs is such a fascinating person to me. Like I've never been coached by Tibbs, never spent any time around him. So can you tell me something that we may not know about Tibbs, or something that would surprise people that don't spend a lot of time around him, like yourself? Tell me something that we'd be surprised about him.
Well, he does have a good humor. That's been surprising to people. But a lot of the stuff that you hear about him, it's true. The guy treats every game. The guy treats every game like it's a Super Bowl. And I think that's been a knock on him, and it's been a fair knock on him because he's this great regular season coach who squeezes the most talent out of his roster possible. But in the playoffs, his playoff record is not good. It's under 500. And in fact, the last 3 seasons, you know, he's not the last 3 seasons, but his 3 playoff appearances with the Knicks, they've been eliminated by lower seeds. So I think that going into this playoffs, that's the pressure on him, is to kind of take that reputation and invert it and actually make a run here. So, you know, I think the problem is Boston. I don't know what you can do about Boston. They've been together for so long. They're just a machine. So is it fair to criticize Tom Thibodeau and the Knicks if they go into the second round and they lose to Boston in 6 games? To me, it's tough to do that.
Switching gears a little bit here, with Wemby out this season, obviously he was the runaway for Defensive Player of the Year. Now Draymond Green has kind of stepped into that favorite position. He's really pleading his case as well. You also agree with that he should win Defensive Player of the Year. What's his case? Because there's other guys like Mobley, there's some guards, there's Dyson Daniels, there's Dort, that guards really don't get the love, you know, historically for this award. But you think it's Draymond Green gonna win it this year?
Oh no, I don't think it's Draymond. I don't know who. I don't have a vote this year. I would say Lou Dort, just because of watching him every night. Like, it's incredible. I mean, you know, I don't watch all their games, but I do watch a bunch of the OKC games. I mean, his perimeter defense is incredible. That whole team's defense is incredible. I like Amen Thompson on Houston. That defense has been incredible. So, you know, OG, I see the graphic up. OG to me is not Defensive Player of the Year, but I think, you know, watching him night in, night out guard the best player on the opposing team, and I realize the Knicks defense is not rated that high. I think they're 13th right now. But to me, he's an all defense, at least second team.
You think?
But if he had a podcast, he could have manifested.
And they just look into like block shots
go.
and rebounds, so it's historically more bigs. Is that why? Like because guards.
Yeah, that's what he said. He said because he was right about this. We were talking to OG about this, and there's not a lot of stats for what he does. There's no stats for somebody seeing him defending him, and that player picking up his dribble and said, "I want no part of OG Anunoby." There's no stat to say that, you know, when a player sees OG Anunoby up against him, that he calls for a screen because he wants a switch. They don't have that stat. So people look at blocks, people look at steals, and that's why you see big men dominate this award.
We had Tony Allen come on. He said, the year Marc Gasol won, he said he was guarding Nazi Mohammed half the time. I was checking the best scoring wings in the league, and he wins it, not me.
So I covered Brook Lopez because I was covering the New Jersey Nets / Brooklyn Nets, but actually Michelle, actually the year after you left was the year I started covering the Nets, and I always viewed Brook Lopez as this terrible slow-footed defender. And then 2 years ago, he's the runner-up for Defensive Player of the Year. I'm like, how is this even happening? This guy was just a hole on defense for so many years, and it's basically just because he's a big man standing under the basket and just blocking guys. That's all he does.
Yeah,
they gotta fix that. Figure it out.
I want to change course. Just recently, Carmelo Anthony was elected to the Basketball Hall of Fame first ballot, which was well-deserved and earned. And it opened up a can of worms about where does he rank amongst New York Knicks greats. What's your take on that? Where does he rank for you?
I mean, so I didn't get to watch all the true greats in the 70s. Those guys that won multiple championships, Clyde Frazier, Willis Reed, Bill Bradley, those guys. So I don't have a good read on how great they were. They obviously won the championship, so you got to put them on top. I grew up with Patrick Ewing. Patrick Ewing, to me, was the best Knick I've ever seen, and Carmelo Anthony was number 2. And Jalen Brunson is rising up the ranks.
Love that.
So number 2, greatest Knick of all time, in your opinion, he's said on record that he would love if the Knicks obviously retire his jersey. No, I know, but
of all time,
he obviously wants his jersey retired. I think his jersey should get retired. Does that ever happen at the Garden?
It happens for the winners, and those guys that I mentioned that won championships, including Dick Barnett, they had their jerseys retired. Patrick Ewing had his jersey retired. I think the argument against Carmelo Anthony right now is Bernard King did not have his jersey retired. And people view their careers in similar vein. They were great scorers who really didn't have much playoff success. So people, you know, I guess the argument is until Bernard gets his jersey retired, Carmelo can't get his.
Yeah.
That is, yeah. And then you can't all of a sudden rush and do it, because then that looks really weird and obvious. The Kevin Durant stuff has already begun, and I think there's like a half dozen teams. It seems to be adding one each day about where he could possibly end up. I've heard a couple murmurs about possibly the Knicks. Is that something that you could see happening?
It all depends on what happens in the playoffs. You know, Mikal Bridges, they traded 5 first-round picks to get him. If for whatever reason, you know, they bomb in the playoffs and Mikal Bridges is up for a contract extension after this season, and they decide that that's not the direction they want to go, then I could see, you know, a movement towards a player like Kevin Durant. But, you know, if they have an encouraging playoffs and they see this headed in the right direction, then they're going to stick with what they have now, because they built this for the long haul. All these players that are the core of this team are in their mid to late 20s. So they're all in the same window. And if you incorporate somebody like Kevin Durant into that mix, now all of a sudden you're blowing up this window that you purposely made with this team. So, you know, a lot of it will depend on the playoffs. But, you know, Kevin Durant is out there. I was talking to somebody the other night when Phoenix was at the Garden. They expect to have offers from multiple teams. So we'll see if the Knicks are one on.
It is, and this is my last one, because you did mention at the beginning about a talent gap between New York and Boston. And if they do end up getting out, even if it's respectable, like, there'll still be a talent gap, right? So are there any other names that perhaps maybe they'll target if it's not Kevin Durant?
I just mentioned the 5 first-round picks. They have no more assets. So they were kind of waiting for their big splash. They were waiting years for it, and they made it in the summer. And they got Karl Anthony Towns, and they got Mikal Bridges. So the idea that, let's say, Giannis Antetokounmpo jars loose, they don't have enough assets to get somebody like that right now.
Got to make it work with what you have. Stefan, appreciate the time. Good luck the rest of the way. Hopefully they can extend this thing as long as possible.
Thank you, man.
Thank you so much.
Yep. We'll be right back.
Run it up, run it back.
So say what say. Lou, this one is directed right at you. So Pat Bev says, once you get on the court with him, he will dog your ass. Game to 15. How much? How much are you beating him by?
Wow.
I hate that I gotta do this, man.
Hey, man, we didn't do it.
The floor is yours.
Pat is my brother's keeper. I don't even know why my name keeps being brought up in these conversations. Like, I don't even qualify for some of these challenges.
What does that mean?
I'm top billing when it comes to I'm top billing. So I don't like, let's check the numbers. When we talk about one-on-one, we talk about scoring the basketball. It's a reason why Lou Will name keeps getting brought up from all these different sources. I don't want to keep going back and forth. Set the price, set the venue. Let's line it up. I hate I got to do this to my brother. I am my brother's keeper, but he asked for it, so I got to put belt to ass.
I mean, this is WrestleMania type stuff going on.
It is. There's a lot of wrestling energy, a lot of WWE energy. We love it.
I like it. I like it.
At the end of the day, we're all content creators at this point.
Apparently.
It does feel a little like Jake Polish. This is getting out of control.
I'm just saying. I like this next one.
That being said, I'm putting my money on Lou, Pat, so what up?
Lou all day. Anthony Edwards.
I hadn't got a real, can I say one more thing?
Yeah, of course you can.
I hadn't got a real offer yet, so talk is cheap.
So it's all just
Y'all
talk.
stop saying my name until we make a real offer.
$500,000 or bust. I'm his agent.
Well, I want to be part of this. Wait a minute. We'll talk about it in the break. Anthony Edwards said he might pull his pants down if he were to hit a Game 7 winner like Kyrie did. It's a real sentence. I kind of love it, Chandler, because it really gets you thinking. How would you celebrate a Game 7 winner? You
know what? I've actually hit a sick shot on the golf course one time and dropped my pants and ran down the fairway at Madison Club. So I totally get what he's saying here. I don't think he would.
No, you don't. No, you don't get what he's saying.
I don't think he'd actually do this on that. What kind of fine would he be looking at?
Who cares? It's a Game 7 winner.
I hope he hits a Game 7 winner, but I hope he doesn't do this just for the sake of the children watching.
Oh yeah, they can't see butts.
Yeah, and other things, but yeah, this would be crazy and it would be super viral. But
what's a proper celebration at a Game 7 winner?
I mean, I don't know.
Appropriate.
Scream, celebrate with your teammates, jump. Maybe give a Pat Bev, jump up on the table.
Okay, that's something, Lou.
Yeah.
I'm pulling the pants down. We're not doing that.
There it is.
No fun. Anthony Davis said that Carmelo is the best USA Olympic basketball player to ever touch the court, Lou.
Oh. Can't fight that. I mean, how many gold medals does Melo have?
2, 3.
It's two or three.
Yeah.
Yeah. If I'm not mistaken, I can't fight that. When I think about the Olympics and the Olympic team, you know, I go nostalgic. I think about Michael Jordan and the impact that he had back in Barcelona back in the day, and then I think about LeBron. I think about the Redeem team when Kobe came and got things back straightened out, and then you got Carmelo Anthony, you know, who's decorated as well. You have the iconic run that Vince Carter and that group went on. It's a lot of different guys that represented the USA well, and Carmelo Anthony is one of the guys that's going to be at the top of that list. So I can't find anything wrong with that.
Yeah, it's obviously fresh in my mind, but I think Steph Curry and what he did in that gold medal game against Serbia this summer, and obviously the names he just named are fantastic. Melo is one of the greatest. But again, you go back to that dream team, you go to LeBron James, Kobe Bryant. There's a lot of greats.
A lot of household names going on. James Harden, Chandler, said that the difference between this year and last year's Clippers is personnel. He also said, you know the players we had last year. That seems like a Paul George situation.
Yeah, it's a little bit of a zinger, and I think even Norman Powell said, you know, you know, when you get rid of somebody, it gives other people more opportunity, and Norman Powell took advantage of that. Zubac has had a completely, you know, unbelievable year. He could win Most Improved Player as well, just with his numbers, career high rebounds, career high points. So it's just more opportunity for these other guys. Just eliminating a Paul George just provides more of those looks for these guys, and they've taken full advantage of it. You obviously have James Harden playing at an elite level, an all-star. I don't think many people had him as an all-star this year. Kawhi Leonard showing that he's healthy and he's still great when he's on the floor. So again, I think collectively this team has had all kind of career moments throughout this season, and that all is because of the opportunity with the departure of Paul George.
Addition by subtraction, Lou.
That's what I was looking for.
I got you. Lou, Brian Windhorst believes that KYRIE is LeBron's most skilled teammate ever, which of course means he's above Luka, D-Wade, AD. Do you agree?
A lot of people say that. A lot of people vouch for KYRIE, his ball handling ability, the way that he's able to finish at the rim. Like, those are two of the biggest skills that you can have in the NBA, and he's elite at both of them, you know, and so this Luka thing is still being written out. Dwayne Wade, obviously, they were champions together. AD, they were, excuse me, they were champions together, but when we're just talking about pure skill, you will find a lot of people that agree with this sentiment, and I'm one of them. KYRIE is one of the more skilled players to ever play the game, to ever have a basketball in his hand. And when you line him up with LeBron James and you compare him to other guys that he's played with, I got to agree with him.
No disagreement? Fair enough?
Yeah, he's not wrong. I mean, this dude's unbelievable.
This next one I find fascinating. Chandler, Evan Mobley says he deserves a Defensive Player of the Year award. Agree or disagree? Again, you got to manifest it, Evan.
I agree. And I think Draymond Green is fantastic. I think he's versatile. He provides so much for that defense. And I think they're the 7th ranked defense. Cleveland is the 8th best defense. But you look at the whole landscape of what Evan Mobley does, how he alters shots, how he rebounds the basketball, the jump that he's made. I think there's an argument. There's also an argument for all these guards that have had great years, like Lou Dort, like Dyson Daniels, that they don't get the attention that they should. And it's just funny. This is kind of the award that I don't know what's going to happen. You kind of know Pritchard's going to win 6 man.
There's no clear favorite on this one, right?
There's no clear-cut favorite in this one, and so it makes it interesting. But it's also funny that Evan Mobley is now going on his podcast and his media tour.
At this point, all of them got to turn into politicians because it's an award that can go 4 or 5 different ways. 100%. So all of these guys have to put their campaigns together.
This has been an experiment to sort of watch how Draymond has done.
Yeah, like if it
out
works,
of nowhere.
If it works for Draymond, or next year people are going to start this earlier,
It's a
and
campaign. That's how you win.
I like Dyson.
Do you? I mean, that would be great as well. All right, we're going to take a quick break.
I'll throw that out there.
More Run It Back on the other side.
Run it back.
Man does have a family. Here we go. Anthony Edwards. This is a moment.
Oh, not on the
This
Bona.
was like a sneak attack.
Not on the Bona.
Don't do this.
What are you doing? What are you doing? But why do you...
I feel like he catches the most bodies going baseline.
Oh, yeah.
This is his thing.
I thought you were gonna say
Power up, he gonna do
All
it.
right, that was safe. I'll give you that. I mean, that's fun. I don't know what to tell you. Giannis.
Spin.
Bully ball.
Oh, God.
Excuse me.
My bad.
And he stepped over him.
It's rude. It's
More
bloody
offensive than
rude.
the actual dunk.
I agree with you on that.
Knock you over,
disrespect.
dunk you, step.
Uh-oh, Miles.
No. Oh, that didn't go how I thought it was.
Kyle.
AJ Johnson.
You really thought you were coming in hot. Did not.
He saw a moment.
He just saw something
Gosh,
there.
he went straight vertical.
Bub.
Oh, no.
Don't make it.
Sitting down.
That's okay.
Touch the earth.
No problem with that.
Touch the
It's a
earth.
moment. Few and far between. We'll take it. Isaiah Hartenstein.
That's what I
Dalton
heard.
Connect still here?
Yeah, he's.
Oh,
Where you
yeah.
been?
Oh,
Forgot about you.
dear.
I'm not trying to be rude. Just forgot.
It's too late.
Well, I mean, I see him on the backs of buses for that lemon thing, but that's about it. He took, you know what? He took Austin
What did he
Reeves. Austin Reeves used to do the ads on the buses here in LA, but now Dalton connected, and I think Austin Reeves, he priced out.
Really?
Like, now he's, you know.
Oh,
Okay.
Do you like that one?
okay, Kata.
All right, let's do it again.
Yeah, this is
1,
nasty.
2. We'll take it.
my
Thibault.
dear. Matisse Thibault.
Michael
With the throw.
Still got it.
Okay.
Simple and lovely.
Who he played
man.
for? It's not Micah Potter.
Oh, that's it? We're done? Whoa. All right.
Forever till tomorrow?
Till forever, I guess.
All right.
Bye.
Adios.